Never easy with this team. It never is. We can't just get that 4-0 win to get us a nice, easy W. It can't be that way. But the Mariners do get a huge, huge win, and there's no shortage of topics to talk about today, from the firing of Brent Brown to the on-fire Ty France to Brian Woo's outstanding start, the decision to pull him, the bullpen struggles, Andres Munoz in the ninth. Tons of things to talk about. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. As always, do me a favor, hit and smash that like button. If you're new here or lurking, please hit subscribe. I'm 32 subs away from 3,500. I think we can reach that tonight. I think it is possible. Thank you to everybody for the support and the support yesterday. I'm sorry for the mic issues. My mic just must not have been hooked up. Good news is I now know the mic does truly sound better than just the computer recording. So thank you to everybody that still liked and supported the video and commented. I appreciate it. Despite the technical issues, if you want to call it that. Listen, it would have been nice to win this game 4-0, how they had it, or 5-0, or, whatever they could have done there. Would have made the night a little less stressful. But the Mariners, and we'll talk about everything, but they come out of this with a huge win to start this series out. It wasn't necessarily how we had it dialed up in the 7th inning with how they'd win, but they do find a way to get the win. And on a night when Texas and Houston lose, you're now 4 games up in the AL West and 6.5 up on Houston. I'm telling you guys, that is not nothing. That is not. I understand people think, well, that could disappear quickly. It can. I know I've said this a bunch of times, but that is a fairly substantial lead. That does buy them, I think, a little bit of time to try and get the current guys right. And we'll see if the Brent Brown firing maybe has an impact. The offense did look better tonight. Maybe this is actually the best offense in baseball, and Brent Brown was just holding them back. There were still some frustrating moments, but I think they struck out a lot less tonight as well. I will pull up the box score here while I have it. But that 4-game lead is meaningful. It is, and it's something that you're going to be leading this division for sure, because tomorrow's June, going into June. And it's something, you should be able to hold for a decent amount of time. Like I said, it does buy this team a little bit of time to make moves. They don't have, listen, this team should make moves, but they don't have to be desperate right now. If they were 4.5 back, Jerry and Scott are in contract years, we might see them get a little desperate and make moves. I hope they do make moves to put this team over the top and help really, do more than just, hey, this is an 85-win team that won a division. I hope they do a little bit more to get this team over the top, possibly. But this does give them a little time to wait out other teams. So from that perspective, from just getting the W and from gaining ground, or not gaining ground, but expanding your lead over the 2 closest competitors in your division, fantastic night for the Seattle Mariners. And listen, the win wasn't the most pretty. There were some frustrating aspects, and I'm going to talk about all of them. But again, I'll remind you guys, enjoy wins. Enjoy it. I promise. It's okay to enjoy it. It is okay to be happy when your team wins a ball game. We can, acknowledge the wins and be excited, and also say, hey, there's some things they can do better. I always say there's multiple things that can be true. We're going to talk about that with the Brian Woo decision. But, a nice win. And anytime I can go to bed, especially since I have to work a Saturday tomorrow, and the Mariners win, I'm a pretty happy camper. Let's start with the Brent Brown firing. A little surprised they did it, because Brown was just hired this past offseason as the offensive coordinator, the Shane Waldron, Ryan Grubb of the Seattle Mariners. And he's been fired after not even 2 months. Now, if he had been here 3-4 years, I might have been like, well, yeah, it makes sense. But a little surprised, because this team's usually pretty patient with coaches, and which I appreciate. I do. I think we should be. I think things take time to work out and everything like that. But for them to do it this quickly makes me think they truly saw something that just was not clicking with what Brent Brown was trying to, whatever message, strategy he was trying to deliver to the team was just clearly not working. Because for them to fire him, and he was one of the big things they talked about this offseason. I made a video talking about it. Great reputation, great pedigree. I thought it could be a big boost for the offense. Now, do I think the reason the offense is struggling was just Brent Brown? No, of course not. There's no way the offense struggling this much falls just on one person. It falls on the organization as a whole. It falls on the players. I guess that would be part of the organization. So it's not just Brent Brown. I mean, all joking aside, I don't think this is just a magical fix. But again, the fact that they did it this early makes me think there was something clearly there. I think it was Daniel Kramer tweeted it out that some of the pregame messages just wasn't really getting through. It was getting a little too complicated. I don't think he means complicated like the team couldn't understand it. I think just overthinking it a little bit. And Scott said before the game, I think kind of like grip it and rip it a little bit. Find your pitch, hit your pitch. And the offense did look like they maybe were getting a little too cute at times this year. I don't know. It's easy to say when they're struggling, oh, they're trying to do too much or they're doing this, they're not doing that. I don't know. Bottom line is that they weren't succeeding offensively. They haven't succeeded offensively this season. And someone paid the price for it. I will never, ever celebrate people being fired. I mean, unless they're like awful human being, criminal or something like that. But, a regular person losing their job will never celebrate it. So, I wish Brent Brown all the best. But I do applaud the organization. And by the way, when I say I don't celebrate people being fired, that's not saying that there aren't times when it's just time to move on. I'm not saying that. But I'm just not one of those people that's going to jump up and down for joy, when someone loses a job. It's just, and if it's just not me. And if you want to find, I don't care. It's just not something I really do. But I do applaud the organization for trying to get out ahead of this and thinking maybe something isn't working here and making a change. So I'm all for it. And like I said, the first night without Brent Brown, they have a better offensive game. Now, you're also playing a lesser opponent. Jose Soriano, is it? Why do I feel like that sounds wrong? It is Jose Soriano, isn't it? I feel like, yeah, Jose Soriano. Why do I feel like, I said this in a video a couple weeks ago, like sometimes you say a name and it just doesn't sound like that's correct, but Soriano's all right. Like, he keeps the ball on the ground. He's not terrible at anything, but outside of ground balls, he's not really amazing at anything. Throws hard, does throw hard. I'm just talking about in terms of like kind of results. So, I do kind of think it's funny that Brent Brown was fired right before the schedule does ease up a little bit for the Mariners. Teams do it all the time. They'll fire coaches before easier opponents because, you should have a little bit better offensive performance against the Angels, the A's. You got the White Sox coming up. The Royals are much better, much improved pitching-wise, but still not a great, pitching stat. Well, actually been pretty solid, I think. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. So I will not deny there is definitely some timing with that firing for sure. But yeah, Mariners I thought did a pretty good job against Soriano tonight. 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, 4 and 2 walks, 3 Ks for him. Mariners only K'd 5 times tonight. Now, again, I don't know if that necessarily has anything to do with Brent Brown. We're talking about one game. Like, we can't draw conclusions on Brent Brown because of one game. But that is what it is. Best of luck to Brent Brown, but clearly something just wasn't clicking here. And maybe it does get the offense going. Maybe they just need to simplify it a little bit, and we'll see. Because I would love to see it. I would love to see it because there are too many good players underperforming right now. And if they want to get to the peak, whatever we consider the peak, even the AL West, they're going to have to be better. And they were tonight for the most part. Let's talk about the pitching. Brian Wu, outstanding. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no earned, no walk, 2 strikeouts. I cannot say enough about how good Brian Wu has been since coming off the injured list. Brian Wu was kind of my guy this offseason. You guys remember I talked about, of course I talked about Brian Wu, but just a big fan of Brian Wu. And I mean, he's giving you Cy Young performances through his first 5 starts here off the injured list. Ks have been down a little bit, but I think he's just throwing so many strikes. And I think the Mariners strikeouts in general are down. And I do think a little bit has to do with teams just being super aggressive. The Mariners throw so many strikes as a starting pitching staff. I think teams are just kind of going up there that we're going to swing. Because you're not, for the most part, unless they're just off their game, which happens, you're not going to get a Mariners starting pitcher to throw 88 pitches in 4 innings. You're just not going to be able to work them right like that. Even the starts, George Kirby has been hit a little bit. Some of his previous starts, not the last one against Houston, like the Nationals one and Baltimore, Minnesota. Even he's still at like 70 pitches after 5 innings or something. So, even when they're getting lit up, these guys are still capable of going deep in the game. So I think the strikeouts are dropping just because teams have been ultra aggressive against the Mariners. But man, I cannot say enough about how good Brian Wu has been. All right, let's talk about it. Brian Wu was pulled at 66 pitches. Here's the thing. That is not just a Scott Service decision. Ryan Divish tweeted about it. That is an organizational choice they're making, that it's either 80, 85 pitches or 6 innings right now for Brian Wu, or I think something along those lines, although he did go back out for the 7th in Washington, so I'm not exactly sure what the whole parameters are. Listen, I don't necessarily agree with it. I would have put Brian Wu back out for the 7th. I get having a limit, but 66 seems really, really low. I don't see any reason you can't try and stretch that out to 80, 85. With that said, again, though, it's not just Scott going, I'm done with Brian Wu. It is an organizational decision. Divish even mentioned they've had the training and medical staff involved in this. And one thing I won't do is I'm not going to question the doctors, at least in this situation or something like this. I don't know enough about it. I know Brian Wu has had a lot of injuries in his history, not just career, but in baseball from, I think, high school on up. So if this is what they think is best, I understand it. Again, I don't agree with it. I think that you can get a little bit more out of Brian Wu, especially with the bullpen scuffling. And we saw what happened in the 7th inning. I think it might be time to try and see if you can get another inning out of Brian Wu in these situations. I'm just bringing that up to say disagree with it is fine, but I do not believe, in fact, I'm 100% positive that is not just Scott going, I'm done with Brian Wu. That is the organization that has put those parameters up. We can disagree with those. That's fine. That is totally fine. I get it. I do get the frustration with it. 66 seems really low. It does kind of seem like, and listen, Wu's been fantastic, so I shouldn't, but it's like if it's that low, 66, then, is he fully ready to be back? I mean, obviously the results show he is, so I can't really make that argument, but yeah, I wish they'd have him throw a few more pitches. Again, and I'm not trying to skate down the middle, but I do see both sides. I say it all the time. I think there's a lot of gray area. If you're mad about it and you think Wu should go longer, I get that. I absolutely do. In fact, I'd probably say I'm with you on that. But I also understand that this goes deeper than just Scott's seen enough of Wu. And that's not what this is. If this was Logan Gilbert at 68, yeah, I'm going to rip Scott for that. The one in Washington when he pulled Logan out, I thought was a mistake. And I think that, for the most part, was probably a Scott service decision. I don't think this is just Scott. Do I think he's involved in it? Probably. But this is something the organization is electing to do with Brian Wu. And listen, the Mariners are up 4-0. Is whatever you want to call this bullpen, good, not great, mid, not good, blah, whatever word you want to use, a 4-0 lead against the Angels with 9 outs to go is something you should be able to hold. And we can get mad at the staff and the coaches in the front office for taking Brian Wu out, and that's fine. But the players deserve blame too. And Trent Thornton and Taylor Saucedo have got to be better in that 7th inning, especially Thornton. Thornton walks 2. He had, I think was it Taylor? Let me pull up the box score here for it. Let me pull up the box score. And then I'm not going to spend too much time on this because they got the W, so it is what it is. All right. No, I'm looking for top of the 7th. Moniak struck out. Taylor Ward walked. I think he had Taylor Ward 1 and 2. Walks him. Can't happen. Willie Calhoun doubles. Listen, Thornton's not great against lefties. I'm not, it's frustrating, but it happens. Pilar grounded out. Rojas came home with the ball, got the out at home. Logan O'Hoppe walks, and he had him 0-2. You can't do that. You can't, especially in that situation where the tying run is on deck. And then you've got Matt Dice is up, who's had 2 hits already off the Mariners, and Joe Adell on the bench. Tough spot. Thornton can't walk O'Hoppe there. Can't do it. I mean, I hate to say, I know it sounds crazy, but if he gives up a 3-run homer to him, then you know what? So be it. But you cannot put him on and get the tying run to the plate. I guess if he gives up a 3-run home run, the tying run still comes to the plate. So both would be bad results. I'm not saying I'd be like, hey, Thornton gave a 3-run home run. Totally cool. Yay. But the walks are just so frustrating, especially when you have them down in the count. Taylor Saucedo comes in. Angels counter with Joe Adell, who's had a nice little breakout season. The Angels have not had a lot go right, but Joe Adell looks to be one of those things that's going right for them this year. Sauce actually is getting them to swing and miss at those change-ups or 2-seamers that are outside. And they I think they were trying to backdoor a slider. If you look at the pitch to Adell, Cal set up way outside, and that pitch just runs right back over the heart of the plate, and Adell powers it out for a grand slam, and the game is tied. Got to be better. Now, I'm actually going to give Sauce off the hook a little bit more than Thornton. Thornton put the base runners on, right? Like Sauce gave up a home run. If that's just Sauce versus Adell, it's a solo home run. Not great, but you can forgive it. So Thornton's got to be better No doubt there. He nibbling too much. Got to get through that seventh inning, and a 4-run lead against the lineup just is not very good. It's just not, especially when we don't have Mike Trout in there. Adele didn't start today. Sean Newell was scratched. No excuse. Got to get through it. So that's kind of like why I just, the decision to pull Wu, versus, whose fault is that? The front office, Scott. But the players have to be better. Now, one thing I will continue to throw out there, do you go to Andres Munoz in those situations? Now, it ended up the way the game played out. Munoz pitches with a 1-run lead in the ninth, fine. But do you bring in Munoz there? You'd have Munoz versus Stice. I think you probably get out of that. I think you feel pretty confident with it. And you're up 4-0. And then you've got a chance to add on a run. And then you've got, Austin Voth or Gabe Spire, Ryan Stanek to close the door for the 8th and 9th with a 4-run lead, which you should be able to do. I do wonder, I have said it before, but do you have to get a little bit cute with how you manage this bullpen? Because I just would have been very frustrated because then Zach Neto had a base hit, stole third, and I think Guillorme, who Saucedo struck out. If Guillorme bloops a little base hit in there and the Angels win 5-4, how frustrating would that game have been knowing you had high leverage spots and you didn't even use Andres Munoz in that game? That's to me where I get frustrated with it. And honestly, that's something I will be a little more critical of Scott about because I think you've got to start getting a little creative in those spots. Now, you came back, won the game, awesome. Munoz locks it down in the 9th. Stanek looked fantastic in the 8th, but I do think that might be an area where they've got to start looking at it maybe a little bit differently, And Sauce has been fine. Thornton's actually pitched really well his last few games, but man, that 7th inning has just been for the Mariners for a while now. So Thornton and Saucedo struggle. Ryan Stanek gets the win, a 1-2-3 8th inning with 2 strikeouts. Man, Stanek has looked fantastic his last few appearances. The Nats one was honestly the Nationals one was the only real hiccup, and even there, Abrams was 2 feet away from that being a foul ball, still crushed, but it wasn't that far away from that just kind of being forgotten along foul ball. So Stanek looks dialed in, which is huge because this team right now needs all hands on deck in this bullpen. And if you're getting Ryan Stanek, that is, I think I said it in the Baltimore series when Stanek pitched a really good 7th or 8th, I don't remember what it was. And I was like, that Stanek being like that kind of dominance takes it from, oh yeah, you got a pile of arms down there and Ryan Stanek's in there and he's fine, to Ryan Stanek can be a weapon for your bullpen. And the Ryan Stanek we've seen the last few times out is a legitimate weapon for this bullpen. And then I just can't say enough about Andres Munoz locking it down. I mean, man, I'm going to jinx it, but I just feel so confident with Munoz coming in right now. When Ty hit that home run, I was just like, yep, Munoz has got this. Even after he gave up the hit to Pilar, I didn't really have much worry. And then you get the caught stealing to finish the game, which was nice because Adele was up, who had the home run last at-bat. So great way to finish it. Munoz dominant as always and a huge win. Let's move on to the offense. JP 2 for 4, 2 doubles. Well hit doubles as well. Really good to see. Rojas 1 for 3 with the single in the first inning when the Mariners scored 3 in the first. Julio 0 for 3 with a walk. His walk was a nice at-bat in that first inning. Didn't usually we see Julio in those spots get very aggressive and really try to, hit that 3-run home run, without even taking a step back. So nice job by Julio to lay off some pitches, load the bases. Cal Raleigh was 1 for 3, had the sac fly and then an RBI single later in the game. In the 5th inning, that sac fly in the first made it 1-0. Canzone 0 for 4, tough game. Let's talk about Ty France. On base 4 times today. Hits a huge double in the first inning. I know Pilar almost caught that. That would have been a great catch. That was still stung by Ty France for a double. He gets a base hit in, I don't know, I think the 6th. I think it was the 6th inning. And then the home run, the game-winning home run in the 8th inning. And he worked a walk. So to me, Ty France hit for the cycle because Ty's probably not getting a triple. So the walk will take the place of the triple. What a game for Ty France. And my gosh, is Ty France locked in right now. And as because in April, I was defending Ty. I was like, listen, the Savant page looks really good. I think he's going to come around. Then it just wasn't happening. The Savant page started going a little blue. And I was kind of like, listen, it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years of Ty France just not being a great player. We've got to look at a replacement. And then Ty France just goes off and has been the best hitter on the team for the last 2 weeks. And it's not just, he's still getting some of those classic Ty France that inside out the other way base hits. We saw one of them tonight. But man, is he scolding the ball and slugging. I mean, and by the way, Ty France has one of the best bat drops in baseball, and he's usually right. It's, we all love the Booney bat flip, but I remember a lot of Booney bat flips that were deep fly outs. Ty seems pretty locked in and knows when to drop the bat. But yeah, just absolutely dialed in. Going the other way with that double in the first inning, huge, huge. And if you can get Ty France back to a semblance of 2022, which you're starting to do, it makes it so much easier for the Mariners, because it's just one less position they have to look at. It's one less they have to go, ooh, do we need to do something? Because me and Mariners sort of talk about, do you give Luke Raley some time at first base? What do you do here? And listen, I don't want to just go, oh, Ty stinks, and oh, now he's back because of a hot streak. Like, still a lot to do, but the OPS up to 736. The WRC plus before his home run was 111. So it's got to be at like 115, 116, something like that. Ty is locked in. He is absolutely locked in, and it has been great to see. And man, I'm super excited if Ty France can keep it up, because it's just going to make the job of the front office that much easier for what you have to look to acquire. One less guy, and Ty just absolutely locked in right now. Really since the road trip, really in the 17-game stretch, I feel like Ty has just been completely locked in. Fantastic to see. And like I said, the season numbers, it's not just a hot streak anymore. The season numbers are actually starting to look pretty good for Ty France as well. Mitch Haniger, 1 for 4. Want to get Mitch going. Did have a nice base hit in that 6th inning. I was going to talk about that inning a little bit if they lost, because they had 1st and 3rd, nobody out, and didn't score that inning. Could have been one that came back to bite them, but it doesn't. Listen, Mitch has flashes where I go, okay, like Mitch looks dialed in, then he's streaky. Right now, though, it's hard because I think they want to give Mitch Haniger more days off, but it's tough because Mitch Garver isn't swinging the bat well, and he's off today. Tomorrow you've got a lefty on the mound, so you're going to want Haniger. I know Haniger hasn't hit lefties well this year, but overall you would think Haniger should be able to hit lefties pretty well, so he'll be in the lineup tomorrow. So it's just been hard. If you want to give Haniger more days off, you need Mitch Garver to heat up. You need Dom Canzone to heat up a little bit so you can give him some at-bats against lefties. So all those things need to happen and before you can really start strictly doing platoons or something, with Mitch Haniger. But good to see the base hit. That was a solid line drive. Luke Raley, 1 for 4. A very deceiving 1 for 4 because, first of all, he gets a nice double in the 8th inning. Off a lefty. You can play Luke Raley against some lefties. I'm not saying he's to play every day against lefties, but I don't think it's the end of the world to give him a few at-bats. I hope he's in there tomorrow against Detmers. That'd be good to see. That'd be really good to see because I think he can. Well, the career numbers show he can hit lefties. I get that small sample, and I think he would be better against righties overall. But let him have a couple bats, especially with Dylan Moore being cold. Now, I think you probably do want Demo in the lineup tomorrow against a lefty. But with Demo slowing down a little bit, maybe you can give Haniger a day off against a lefty. I don't know. I'd let Raley have some at-bats there. And he was robbed of a home run. I don't know if I mentioned that. Mickey Moniak made a ridiculously good catch. So that's why I said a deceiving 1 for 4 because it really should have been a 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs for Luke Raley. And then Dylan Moore 0 for 4. Tough homestand so far for Demo. Again, probably getting Demo's playing a lot. And I think Demo's best in sort of that utility role, playing every day against lefties, occasionally against righties. It's just right now with the Polanco injury, Demo's playing a lot. But hopefully we'll see Ryan Bliss in there tomorrow. I imagine we'll see Bliss at second. I think tomorrow you'll see Cal, Ty, Bliss, JP, Moore, Julio in center. I think you'll see Mitch Haniger in right, Garver DHing. And then left field, I would give to, I know they've been doing it with Clase. I'd let Luke Raley get those at-bats. And I'd send Clase down and bring up somebody that's just a little more polished. Bring up Cade Marlowe, someone like that just has a little bit more polish in their game right now than Jonathan Clase. Mariners get a huge win. They are all big. When you are in a division lead, we talked about it last year, right? Missing some of these wins early in the year and it catching up to them. Well, they're winning a lot more of these games here early in the year. Again, there are still some deficiencies with the team, things I talked about in yesterday's video, and those still ring true. But a much better offensive showing tonight. Not only just the 5 runs, Luke Raley just missed a 2-run home run, would have been 7. They had first and third, nobody out. I know they didn't score there, so that's frustrating, but they were in that position to score more. Normally, you'll score more runs with runners at first and third, nobody out. Keep doing that, and eventually the runs, will happen. Brian Wu, fantastic. We can debate the issue all we want, but I don't want that to take away from absolutely how outstanding Brian Wu has been since coming back from the injured list. Like Emerson Hancock, I think he's solid. No problem with him as a 6-starter, but zero debate who is better between Brian Wu and Emerson Hancock. The rotation just continues to be lights out. Win tomorrow, win a series. Bryce Miller on the mound against Reed Detmers. Detmers is a guy that's given the Mariners fits, or at least it seems like it has. I don't know his career numbers against the Mariners, but definitely seems like he has spun some pretty well-pitched games against Seattle over his career. Go out and get that series win tomorrow. Guarantee a series win. You've got a 4-1 homestand right now. So no matter what, you're walking with a winning homestand, but you really want to win series against teams like the Angels. I'll talk about splits when you're playing the Yankees and Baltimore. The Angels, you should be beating 2 out of 3. That's just not a very – I have a ton of respect for Ron Washington. I think that's the right guy to lead a young team to learn how to win some of these games. But in general, it's just not a very good baseball team. Huge win for the Mariners tonight. They went at 5-4. Brian Wu, fantastic. Ty France, the hero. Let's go get another one tomorrow. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all tomorrow night. Real quick, members, I will put first of all, think about becoming a channel member because our next members live stream will be Sunday afternoon for the game against the Angels. I will post the contest details in the community tab for the members. If you want to think about becoming a channel member, we hang out, watch the games. It can be a lot of fun. So take care, everybody. Enjoy your Friday night. And as always, go M's. Peace.